about to let loose. Mike showed us the timing. We're going to look at some cities individually, though. And again, the virtual view will show you what it'll be like when you walk outside for that late day drive. Much darker and much soggier. Theme parks, got to keep this in mind. Obviously, early in the day, going to be a much better bet than later this afternoon. Here is your timing around the Orlando area. You can see things really get going as we move towards the mid and late afternoon hours. They'll continue into the evening, 7, 8 o'clock. We still have some heavy downpours around. Post-sunset, a lot of the activity done. We'll try it again tomorrow. Again, morning is drier. Afternoon hours bring much more in the way of heavy downpour and thunderstorm chances. So that's the story there in Orlando. Again, very summer-like pattern here as we approach the unofficial start of the summer season. Now we take you over to the Tampa-St. Pete area, down towards Sarasota and Venice. These are spots there. You'll actually see the thunderstorm chances, I think, on the higher side a little earlier. Then a lot of the activity begins to shift inland. So interior sections of the Tampa metro area, better chance for you later in the day for some of that shower and thunderstorm activity. Here's Tuesday morning, dry. Afternoon hours, very quickly we turn on the shower and thunderstorm action. So Florida, I know you guys are used to this. If you're at the beach, again, dry time, much better bet early in the day. Showers and thunderstorms going to be much more prevalent during the afternoon and early evening. Let's take you to South Florida, Fort Myers, Miami, down into the Key Largo area. You can see the showers and thunderstorms lined up north to south, right? It's like a vertebrae of thunderstorms right down the spine of the state. And we do it all again tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon and evening. Heavy downpours out there on some of the roadways, including I-75 and Highway 1. Mike?
We also know that severe 1, maybe 2 inches of rainfall per hour, depending on how fast or how slow they're moving.
Yeah, so we got to watch flash flood threats over the next few days. It's going to be a tough go. And also the areas of thunderstorms will be on the growing side of the story. So we're going to see things get more and more prevalent each day, right? More showers and thunderstorms as our areas to watch grow. As we all will, as we head into Memorial Day weekend. There's so much pasta salad, right? You find yourself eating bowls and bowls of pasta salad, and you get back to work on Tuesday, and you're like, no, I need elastic pants today. Well, more moisture steered northward. That's part of the reason. Then we've got our cold front digging off towards the south, and thunderstorm coverage, again, will be on the increase each and every day. So tomorrow, now we're looking at Childress to Wichita Falls, Abilene to Lubbock, I-27, portions of I-20, I-44, areas in western Oklahoma, at least an isolated shower or thunderstorm chance. Flash flooding also a possibility, and that gets us into both the Oklahoma City and Dallas metro area. So while you may see the severe threat be on the lower side, the heavy rain potential is going to be there. And obviously, anytime you're talking about a big metro area where there's a lot of pavement, a lot of buildings, you're going to have a lot of runoff with these showers and thunderstorms. So something to be aware of in the short term. By Wednesday, now we've got southern Colorado, western parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, parts of the Texas Panhandle down towards about Abilene. So I-20, again, I-40 in play. Amarillo, your best chances for thunderstorms will be coming later in the week as well. I think morning hours on Thursday could be especially stormy with some more coverage. But 4 out of 5 days, we're looking at opportunities for rain and thunder. Here's a look at the overall story for the general region. Wednesday afternoon, we've got the thunderstorms from Dallas to Waco to Oklahoma City. We see things fizzle Wednesday night into Thursday morning. We'll see them all start up again during the day on Thursday. Again, portions of the desert Southwest, well, really eastern sections of New Mexico into West Texas, western Kansas, western Oklahoma. These are spots, Mike, that really day after day we'll continue to monitor those skies and watch for some heavy rain showers too.
Yeah, it could be a repetitive forecast.
Indoor backup going to be crucial. And we look towards the holiday weekend, of course, also looking towards Memorial Day weekend, because that leads us into the start of the Atlantic hurricane season, at least the official start, right? The calendar date's June 1st to the end of November. We are very shortly coming up on that, 10 days away. So again, into next week, we're going to be watching for things to officially, start, but that doesn't just necessarily mean that's when the activity begins. We can see Mother Nature play not by the calendar's rules that we have determined. We've got an area to watch right now. National Hurricane Center has designated this area of interest out into the tropics, 10% possibility of development. So not a large risk of development with this. And again, it's going to be short term that we watch for this to develop if it does. So let's get to the maps. Obviously, I know a lot of you are like, oh, shoot, I thought, I would be okay early in the season heading to the tropics, and now we've got something to watch. Again, this is the area down into the Caribbean, closer to the island. So we're looking west of, or rather east of the Bahamas, north of Puerto Rico. 7-day development area is off to the north of where it's currently located. But again, this is really a short-term thing. If this is going to develop, it's going to be sooner rather than later. So we're not going to be looking at, opportunities a week out. You can see that area of spin becomes much more diffuse according to the European model as we look towards the end of the week. Again, eventually beginning to work its way off towards the north and east, but perhaps another area of spin that takes over. You can see the European model more definitive on that as we move into the end of the week. So that'll be something we obviously watch for, some unsettled weather chances into our Memorial Day holiday weekend. And again, closer look at the European for this area, just like last week when we had that unsettled, windy, rainy weather across the Carolina coastline. Could be looking at the same story moving into our Memorial Day holiday. You can see the Outer Banks could be getting drenched on Friday. Same for Southeast Virginia as this slowly meanders north. Could mean less than ideal beach weather even up into our mid-Atlantic beaches. During the month of May, storm origins are close to home. So early and late in the season, we oftentimes look closer to home. Peak of the season, Mike, that's when we watch those waves coming off of the Atlantic or coming off of Africa and crossing the Atlantic.
Alex, appreciate that. Thank you.
Welcome back into Weather Underground. Lots going on across the southeast, primarily Florida and South Georgia. Those are the spots to watch right now. Big thunderstorms bringing a lot of lightning, heavy rain. Some of them are severe with, of course, the severe threats, the gusty damaging winds and the hail potential. That'll be the story today. I think we're likely seeing some gusty winds out of this one. Also a little bit of a hook on this. So we're going to watch for a tornado possible. National Weather Service there in the Jacksonville area put that tornado possible wording in the warning. So when we look at the I-10 corridor south and east of Sanderson, these are areas we got to watch for some of those gusty winds. Trees could come down. Last week we had trees down on I-10. No reason to believe we couldn't see that out of this storm. Glen St. Mary 125, McLenny at 127, Stecker at 131, and Ellerby at 133. Again, this is Baker County, west side of the Jacksonville metro area along I-10, really between Lake City and Jacksonville. So if you know somebody traveling I-10, let them know. I know obviously this is a big stretch for interstate travel from the Jacksonville area up towards, say, Atlanta as well. Over the last 3 hours, you can see the available energy has been on the rise there across North Florida and South Georgia. And so these storms taking advantage of that. Sea breeze today will help to fuel some of that. Again, those colliding air masses coming in off the east and west coast of Florida. So we've really got the entire state of Florida in the zone today for possible severe weather, along with South Georgia, Mike, and southeast Alabama.
So we know with
a boogie board, you got to get a new one at the beach shacks as well. Now, moving through the day today, we've got opportunities for thunderstorms, and not just thunderstorms, but a lot of thunderstorms. So I think that's going to keep a lot of folks away from the beach today. Water temperature 82, burn time 30 minutes, obviously with a little bit more cloud cover. If you are going to be at the beach, obviously you got to keep an eye to the sky, have a way to get those warnings because you may be clearing the beach. But when we look towards the rest of the week, storms become much more hit or miss. So I do think you'll have more dry time moving forward. And again, that means you may be going in the water. Got to listen to those lifeguards. They are there to keep you safe. So always swim on the guarded beaches. I think that's just your best bet. Remember, these people are paid to watch the water. They know what to do. They're trained to look at rip current dangers. So today, rip currents on the high side there along the Florida-Georgia line, moderate up and down the coast. So those lifeguards have eyes on the water, and they're going to let you know where you want to avoid. The other bonus of swimming in the guarded beaches, Mike, obviously, if you find yourself in trouble, you're able to let that rip current carry you out, wave for attention, they'll come out and get you.
For sure. Alex, thank you.
Well, there. She played for 3.5 hours, record 1.84 inches at Boston Logan.
I read that she said she has actually never been happy in her life.
Yeah.
Right now, she's as happy as she's ever been.
Yeah, she's got a new boo.
I think it's the weather.
You think it's weather?
I
you
do.
think it did it? There has got to be something freeing about doing that.
The rain's been cleansing for Taylor Swift.
Yes, it's almost like you listen to her song. Clean. There is a song called Clean. It's about rain pouring down.
She's got so many. It's probably like at this point.
Yeah, you can say anything.
Say any word, and she's got a song about that.
That's what she was singing about in this song, Mike. But yeah, no,
she got a new man, huh?
She got a new man.
Can't wait for that next album.
Yeah.
Just feel bad for the old guy.
That means she broke up with the old one, and that means
that's going to be a whole album. She's got a lot of material now.
You're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. But yeah, sorry, Foxborough, for those of you who are like, man, I did not want that. But, you know, you get to say, I think now it's going to go down in like the Hall of Fame shows, and you get to say, like, I was at that really
I would say that the fans and her are very dedicated in all of that, right? We've got a lot more rain and thunderstorms to talk about, not necessarily Massachusetts.
No. If it's bad, just add an IER to it. Yeah, rainier, cooler, yuckier, less beachier. No good. Across sections of the plains, we also have to watch for some thunderstorms. Nothing out there now, but it is parts of the Panhandle, western Oklahoma, that we could see some severe weather later on in the afternoon. So we're looking at Lubbock up towards the Amarillo area, east on I-20 and I-40, getting us again into parts of the western Panhandle of Oklahoma. Future radar looks like this. Again, you can see a few thunderstorms blowing up. There'll be individuals. I think these will be hail producers. Obviously, we've got a lot of open space out there. You'll be able to see these things for miles. So some towering supercells with hail, a tornado opportunity, and gusty damaging winds. Moving into the late evening, I think we'll see more of a cluster develop. So these individual storms will join forces and bring us some really heavy rain working towards the Abilene area, even towards the I-35 corridor as we move towards Tuesday morning's morning drive. And so that means we've also got to watch for the possibility of some flash flooding. With those really prolific rain producers, could see some water issues from Dodge City, Kansas, all the way down towards the I-20 corridor. We'll be right back. Dealing with any of the, you know, the bad weather underneath it, you just get to watch the show too. When you're like in an airplane far away, you get to see that rain shaft coming down. Really cool stuff. Now today, northern tier, we got to watch for some severe stuff. How about Montana? We're looking at I-15 through Great Falls and Helena, Butte over to Billings. Billings not quite in it, but honestly, you're close enough. So I'd be bracing for that opportunity for one or two, an isolated strong to severe thunderstorm. You can see that's the nature of the beast today. We've got some isolated thunderstorms. They'll be very similar to those ones that look super picturesque, right? So these are going to start out off on their own. They could bring us some hail, some gusty, damaging winds. You'll be able to see these from miles away. If you're in the flat areas, obviously, when you get out into terrain, not going to see them as much. Farther into the overnight, now we've got more of a clustering effect. We lose the punchiness of them, so not as severe, but here we could be looking at some heavy rain that lingers into the early part of Tuesday. When we look at the European model, which always updates without a doubt, our graphics, go blank here at 40 minutes after U.S. Let's see if I go back to it, if it works this time. Well, now I went through the timing again. Anyway, we could be looking at some 1 to 2 inch totals according to both the Euro and the GFS. So there we go. You just had to go back and go back to it. Even some pockets of 3 to 5 inches. I think those would be fewer and farther between, Mike. And then again, into the middle part of the week, we'll watch for thunderstorms once again, and that could also extend up over into parts of Canada, perhaps helping them out.
All right, Alex, thank you for that, because in Canada,
love to see some rain up that way. Well, time now to weatherproof your wallet, brought to you by JP Morgan Chase. Today, preparing your home for a hailstorm. Of course, opportunities in the forecast, and several areas across the country could be seeing these issues. So you got to guard and protect your home. And
still to this day remains the single costliest tornado in American history.
Yeah.
$3 billion just for a single tornado that was literally only lasted half an hour.
I know, but it makes sense when you look at that town. I mean, it was those shots that you guys got leveled. I remember watching it at home on TV and thinking, this was a huge community, or, for that area, a very large community.
Yeah.
No signs of it.
No. And there was just a lot of chaos in the moments, and it was just hard because there was so much destruction that it took forever to get enough people in there to help, fire crews and ambulance and first responders. They later were making triage in the parking lot because the hospital was rendered, incapacitated. So it was just, there was a lot going on. I remember when it first happened, it was just chaos.
Well, you got to think, what do we do in the aftermath of one of these kind of events? It's all about communication and rounding up the troops, and there was no means of communication there.
Literally zero. So, but 12 years ago today. But
hard to believe.
That town has come back very strong since, and they've built very resiliently as well, which is, hats off to them.
Absolutely. Here as we wind down the severe season, or at least the highest risk of severe weather, we head into tropical season. Whereas with severe weather, you want that tilted updraft. So not going to be watching this to develop into anything. But again, we had eyes on this zone. Now 0% chance of development. You can see with the European model, this thing moves off to the north, and then we really lose the area of spin. It becomes much more minuscule, a little elongated. But as we move through the week, notice this area of spin. Forecast models have been picking up on off the southeast coast. So we're going to be watching for this to possibly lead to some unsettled weather. Not saying it's going to be a tropical system, but it's certainly going to make for some less than ideal beach conditions across the southeast and mid-Atlantic beaches as we move into our weekend. So if you're going early for Memorial Day holiday festivities, you can see Thursday afternoon could be tough in a place like Wilmington. Remember, last week we had all that rain leading to the flooding there in eastern North Carolina. We're going to add more rain to the mix. Saturday morning, it's still raining around Wilmington. There's the developing low. Norfolk area also watching for that. So we'll be monitoring this, see if we can develop a tropical or subtropical system off the coast. This would be the time of year, Mike, that we do look closer to home in general for development. So we're not watching these waves coming off of Africa. We're looking at something close to home.
All right. Yeah. Coming up here on Weather Underground Florida, along with many portions of the southeast in that bullseye for week. With us, you're watching Weather Underground. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. Dr. Nav back for the middle part of the week. He's enjoying some time off before we really get into hurricane season, which is just 10 days away.
He deserves it because things get very, very active late in the season. We rely on that gentleman very, very heavily. He's the brains behind the mission, that's for sure. But we know that for a lot of you, as we get closer to Memorial Day, the forecast gets a little dicier, unfortunately.
It does. Unfortunately, the beach trip that you're packing for may need to have a little umbrella activity, some rain jacket, some games, puzzles. Remember 2020 when all we did was puzzles? Grab one of those, the ones that you didn't do. If you're like me, you've got still some that are unopened once we were able to go back outside.
2020 was the year my family became Uno aficionados.
Oh, there you go. That's another good one. That can lead to some real family battles, though.
It can.
You
it
take
heated sometimes.
me?
Yeah.
It's the worst. But anyway, we're going to break down where you got to watch for all that, less than great beach weather. In the meantime, we've got 3 areas to watch for severe weather today.
All right, so places like Montana, already some storms there. We'll take a look at that radar. West Texas, heads up for you. And then also watching for some storms through Florida. They're already there as well. They get more expansive through the evening.
Absolutely. Scenes like this, pouring rain at all costs.
Comes with a price, right?
Yep, you got to pay for that pop.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I could stand in line for 2 hours.
No, I don't have it in me.
I just don't know if I could.
No.
All right, so let's show you what's going on.
From Miami, clouds moving in, billowing up through the day. You notice we start with the cute little cumulus, and then things start to get excessive. And if you're taking off at the airport, right, you're going through that and feeling the bumps. By the time we get into the late afternoon, evening hours, widespread scenes like this. I would say early to mid-afternoon, though, you could begin to see stuff like this, a little bit more hit or miss, and then much more widespread. Rain blowing sideways, opportunities for some damaging wind gusts out of these storms, but mostly a lot of lightning and a lot of wet weather. There's a look at 3 o'clock this afternoon. So again, already getting coverage during the early to mid-afternoon all across South Florida. Much more in the way of showers just lined up north to south as we move into the late afternoon and evening hours. So that sea breeze convergence leading to the afternoon wet weather that's going to slow you down for your drive home. You know what you're in for, though. If you live in Florida, this is the time of year through the summer months that you're like, oh yeah, chances are more often than not that I'm going to be driving through the pouring rain, reducing your visibility on I-75, on I-95, I-4, I-75. Well, I said I-75, Highway 1 as well. We get you into the day on Tuesday again, starting off on the dry side. Same story as today. Afternoon hours bringing you more in the way of wet weather. In other parts of Florida, it's going to be a very, very similar forecast. So a rinse and repeat kind of day out there today and tomorrow. Afternoon showers, very heavy downpours at times. Again, I-4 could be a really tough go for you guys this afternoon. Morning commute looks better, but here's tomorrow afternoon. Once again, big time rain showers, big time lightning totals out of some of these storms. And so that could even lead to some short-term flash flooding, especially in places like Orlando, like Melbourne, where you've got a little bit more pavement. You can see that water piling up in spots. Jacksonville to Tallahassee, I-10, same story for you guys. You can see the afternoon will bring more in the way of showers and storms. We've already seen severe weather along I-10 this afternoon, and that continues into the overnight and during the day tomorrow. So I do think across North Florida, Mike, we see a little bit more overnight coverage as opposed to areas farther south where we get a little bit of a break, a few hours off before we're seeing the storms again.
And Florida not the only
good chances all across the region. That'll also lead to some flash flooding opportunities too. You showed the short term, and then again, as the rain continues to fall, we could see increased chances through the second half of the week. So here's the middle and late part of the week. We've obviously got all that moisture that continues to stream in out of the Gulf of Mexico. Our cold front moving off towards the south as well. So the coverage of thunderstorms will be on the rise. We'll begin to see more of that activity each and every day. Whereas today we've got a pretty compact area. later in the week, we've got larger zones to watch. There's tomorrow's risk area. We've got Lubbock, we've got Abilene, we've got Wichita Falls, parts of southwestern Texas or Oklahoma along the Red River. You guys will be bracing for severe weather. Now, the flash flood threat moves a little farther east than the severe risk. So we watch those thunderstorms cause their trouble. They weaken, maybe not as severe, but they're still producing heavy rain. So metro areas like Oklahoma City, Dallas, and Fort Worth could especially see some water problems. Again, when you got all that pavement, you've got an increase in runoff, as opposed to, look at that scene there in a place like Lubbock, where there's a lot of grass, so you get a little bit more water absorption. Not to say you can't see flash flooding there if you see some of those big rainfall totals. But again, when you've got the pavement, water's not going to absorb into the pavement. Wednesday, Colorado and Kansas, down through Oklahoma, New Mexico, a lot of the Texas Panhandle, again, looking at the I-20 corridor for portions of the Abilene area. And then we've got more opportunities for thunderstorms in a place like Amarillo. Honestly, more often than not, showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. I think Wednesday is your one dry day with a mix of sun and clouds, temps in the low 70s. So a little cooler that day. Other days warmer, but offering up the rain and thunderstorm chances. European model painting a picture of 2 to 3 inch totals there from Abilene to areas west of Oklahoma City, even some pockets of higher amounts. So again, that could promote the flash flooding opportunities. USGFS says lesser amounts into Oklahoma, and the higher totals would be focused Lubbock down towards Abilene. So again, while there is discrepancy between the exact location, Mike, knowing that both forecast models are painting 2 to 3, 3 to 5 inch totals, be aware of that opportunity anywhere for Texas and western parts of Oklahoma.
Oh, absolutely. Those kind of rain.
Inside where you need to be. Got to bring the picnic indoors. And here, as we continue to watch for severe weather, we also know opportunities for tropical weather go up. Hurricane season just 10 days away. That's the official start. But again, Dr. Knapp always says the weather doesn't necessarily operate the way our human designated calendar does. Now, we have that area to watch down into parts of the Caribbean. No longer looking at opportunities for development. So the National Hurricane Center has dropped that area from a 10% possibility of development to a 0% chance. This is going to be up against dry air and up against wind shear. So it's not going to develop. Instead, it's going to weaken, get stretched out. But there is another area that we'll be keeping a closer eye on here as we move towards the holiday weekend. Again, there's that zone off to the west or east of the Bahamas. We've got 0% opportunity of development, according to forecasters at the NHC. And this is what they're looking at. So the European model, you can see we really lose that area of spin, becomes much less defined, stretched out a bit as we work towards the end of the week. But by the end of the week, notice an area of spin getting a little bit more defined. It's an elongated area, but tightening up as we move towards the Saturday and Sunday time frame. Whether or not this becomes tropical or not, still yet to be determined. But what we know is that it looks to make things messy along some of those southeast and mid-Atlantic beaches into our holiday weekend. So let's start things off Wednesday morning. This is the European forecast model, and you can see that wet weather starting to really focus along the southeast coastline, off the Carolinas in particular. Wilmington, soggy day on Thursday, soggy day again on Friday. Now parts of southeast Virginia, as we work our way into the weekend, you guys start to see a little bit more rain work in. And again, we'll see if we can see anything develop out of this as we get a little bit closer. And again, we're going to, Dr. Knapp is itching to get back here into the office to take a fine tooth to that. Storm origins during the month of May, oftentimes, Mike, are closer to home that we watch. So we're not watching these waves coming off of Africa. We're looking at the homegrown systems.
Yeah, for sure. Alex.
That's the deal today across Florida, already happening, and this is something that will continue through the afternoon and early evening. So again, around Tallahassee, we've got some of those thunderstorms no longer warned in that area. We do have a warning there in southwest Georgia. Jacksonville area no longer under a warning, but still plenty of lightning. So if you're hearing thunder, you could be in danger. You need to be inside. Lightning strikes too many times this time of year lead to deaths or at least injuries. So you don't want to put yourself in that position to be struck. Early in Miller counties here, again, right along the Alabama-Georgia state line. We're looking at areas east of Dothan, around Mayhaw. Could even get some small hail out of this storm. In addition, gusty winds possible. Wouldn't be out of the question to see some small hail off to the south of I-10 here in North Florida. But look at all the lightning. This is what we're talking about. So even though this is not a severe thunderstorm warning, you've got a dangerous storm. Almost 150 lightning strikes strikes just within 15 minutes out of this, and the rain is coming down torrentially to the east of 75 south of I-10. That's what we're going to see more of this afternoon. Again, instability or available energy has been on the rise. Mike, the sea breeze will also help those thunderstorms firing up, moving into interior spots of Florida. So will be a very active late day drive for you guys.
For sure. Something to keep an eye
on the beaches in Daytona Beach today. You can see next few hours stormy, especially during the late day drive time. Heavy rain and thunderstorm activity going to slow things down on I-95. The beach temperatures or water temperatures, they are on the warm side. So by the time we get into those more favorable beach days, I think a lot of folks will be seeking out the water. Low 80s Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hit or miss shower and thunderstorm chances. Very typical Florida forecast headed our way. Now today we've got moderate and high rip current danger, and that's why we always encourage you to swim at those guarded beaches. Use the lifeguard to your advantage, right? They are paid to watch the water for you, let you know what to watch out for, let you know what areas to avoid. And rip currents, unfortunately, one of the deadlier weather issues that we see. More people are killed by rip currents than tornadoes in a given year. So things to remember. Again, always swim by the lifeguards. Use them to your advantage. Assume rip currents are present. If you're worried, ask about them. The lifeguards are more than happy to talk to you. If you're caught in a rip current, the best thing to do, float. Let this take you out. Just try to relax. I know easier said than done. Get the lifeguards' attention. They'll come out, bring you back to shore.
Right. It's just every volcano eruption, we see these days, which is fascinating.
Well, nowadays we got these cameras that, obviously don't cost a lot. You don't have to have somebody trek up there and actually hold the camera. So we're able to get some really cool views. Remember that volcano that erupted in Iceland, I think, that we were able to watch the lava flows and just eats the drones.
It's amazing what we can do now. Just observe everything. We can all be witness to what's happening on this beautiful
Volcanoes
planet.
are can I be private? Nope, not anymore.
Not anymore, that's for sure. With Alex Wilson, I'm Mike Bettis. Glad you could join us here for Weather Underground.